focused on 3 P's, all right, when you raised all those questions. One is on pedagogy, the other is on practice, and the third is on pride. And you were asking if, as a practice or as a pedagogy, you were telling, based on these American scholars, that it's more of a, I mean, it's underutilized or overemphasized. These kind of, you gave those binary perceptions. My response is that I would add one more dimension: assessment. So what I experimented in Symbiosis Law School in 2007 when I took over was based on my previous experience. One was I myself was a mooter in a 3-year law course student, being a 3-year law course student, and being a lady in a Mopusy town, it wasn't easy to be a mooter. So not many competitions were there in those days. And Suranas conveniently excluded 3-year course students because they thought they were seniors, you know, like senior citizens. So, I mean, obviously so, I had PhDs also in my class, that's a different issue. So, coming from there, when I entered National Law School in 1995 at the invitation of Dr. Menon, I was asked to draft a Moot problem. And, you know, burning midnight oil, I drafted the problem, and then it was meant to be for the first-year students. And these first-year students in National Law Schools, especially in Bangalore Law School, how belligerent they are and competitive they are, you can imagine. And I found it very sick. I was also meant to sit as a panelist and judge them. So I was swallowing my own medicine, you know. So they were fighting, mixing the names and things like that. But what I found was that these brilliant students would work day and night and master those concepts, master those arguments, what they call as cracking the mooting problem, which is the most contentious issue. So it was a culture which was passed down by their seniors. So in your sense of pedagogy, I agree that it's a pedagogy not just in terms of conducting it through external fora. You can do it with the internal fora. So they had this novice moot elimination, and I as a tort law teacher was supposed to draft this international tort problem. So this is one thing. This was one experience I had. So when I took over Symbiosis Law School, first thing I studied was how is the bar culture here. Within the law school you have to have a bar culture, professional culture. And the bar culture was terrible. So organizing a non-competitive, not competition-based, but culture, within the culture, institutional culture, a mooting culture is very, very important. Not only as pedagogy, but as the whole learning experience, because 25% of the learning is through peers. And today with the technology, the peer is not within your college alone. The peer is trans-college and trans-university. Okay, so we had to do the ethical training first, because senior from Kerala would always select a junior from Kerala to be the moot court vice president. So I had to put that down, putting parameters that they have to have earlier mooting track record, etc. So it's not just an exercise in pedagogy alone, it's about pedagogy in a larger sense, it's about assessment. So what we did, I had a lot of coincidence by God's grace. This Fulbright scholar visited us in that year, Rebecca Todd, a very, very well-trained Cornell University product who was an environmental law attorney. So I put her in front and I started executing my ideas. The idea number one was like this, that they would learn how to think like lawyers. So a mooting problem was developed by 3 teachers who were teaching the first year class. I went one step ahead of Dr. Menon. Instead of simply putting the problem in one curriculum, we combined 3, tort law, contract law and constitutional law, developed a problem so that 3 teachers involved. We have numbers like India's population, 300 numbers, how to pay personal attention. So making a pair of 2 lawyers, and then when they are preparing the problem, an average student is unhappy to sit with a bright student and develop this. So we had to do a lot of counseling. So it's a personality building exercise, It's not just preparing for appellate lawyering kind of simulation exercise. It's preparing a lawyer who is a public servant, who is constitution defender, thereby crossing the limits of their mind. So there are a number of soft skills which these American authors have never taken into consideration, because lawyering is seen as an exercise which is in shrewdness, which is in that what you call crookedness or a kind of belligerent approach. For me, a lawyer is a social healer, a social engineer. If you are looking at social engineering as well, it is possible.